Las Vegas is one of the only cities that you can ride in a car with no driver, go through an underground tunnel just to get to dinner. But most visitors end up wasting their time and money because they don't understand how all the transportation options fit together in Vegas. In this video, I'm going to break down all the different ways to get around Las Vegas, from the cheapest to the fastest and the most fun. After you land at Harry Reid International Airport, you have your first big transportation decision to make. And that's how you're going to get to your hotel. You really have two choices. You have rideshare and you have taxi. Most of us are probably familiar with Uber and Lyft from previous travels. But I'll just give you a reminder here to check both the Uber and Lyft app. Their pricing can be noticeably different, and it's an easy way to save $5, $10, $15 right when you get off the plane. If you're staying at a trip hotel, the taxis have a flat rate both to and from the airport. And what that means is you can check that pricing before you even leave the house so that you know when you check Uber and Lyft whether your ride is going to be less expensive on the rideshare or if you should just head over to the taxi stand. Currently, the pricing, depending on where your hotel is on the strip, is between $21 and $29. So I'll leave a link right here so that you can check the pricing for your hotel to and from the airport. And that'll give you a point of reference when you're looking at whether or not you want to do taxi or Uber. The next question is, how do you get around to do all the things that you want to do? The first time Mike and I went to Vegas, we decided we were going to walk everywhere. And walking is free and it's good for you. So there are definitely some times in Vegas where you should be walking. But I think the map of the strip is a little deceiving. You look at all these big casinos, and honestly, they don't look that far apart. But when you're walking, it's about 4 miles from one side of the strip to the other. But that does not include all your steps in and out of casinos and to attractions. It doesn't factor in the heat very well. And I find that most people we've met really don't like to walk the whole time they're in Vegas. People find that they have to have some other options besides walking while you're in Vegas. So let's take a look at those. Uber and Lyft are probably the most used transportation. They're fast, everywhere, and usually cheaper than taxis. Pickup spots aren't always obvious, but most of the hotels have a designated pickup spot for rideshare. Of course, rideshare is not your only option. You can also do taxis. Taxis are extremely convenient, sometimes more convenient than rideshare because they're usually lined up outside the hotels. But as I mentioned before, metered fares are used everywhere except to and from the airport. Depending on the route he or she takes and the traffic, your pricing is going to vary. Okay, so we've got the obvious ones out of the way. Let's talk about some other options that you have while you're in Vegas. The Las Vegas Monorail runs on the east side of the strip and covers a lot of the major hotels. It's a quick way to get down the strip because you're not worried about traffic. It's clean. It runs every 3 to 8 minutes. So it's a great way to get around that east side of the strip. And depending on what station it is, you may have to walk quite a ways to get from the station into the casino or into the hotel, but it's a great option. It's air conditioned. It's a lovely way to get a long way on that strip on the east side. If you're going to use the monorail, just be sure to buy your ticket online. It was super easy to buy the ticket, and then you just have to scan it at the fare gate. If you want something free and you're on the west side of the strip, you can do the MGM and Aria Trams. It runs from Park MGM, the Crystal Shops, Aria, and the Bellagio. The tram runs about every 5 to 7 minutes, and it's a great way to get from here to the Bellagio without having to use our feet. And the MGM tram connects MGM, Excalibur, and Luxor. The downside is the hotels that are connected to the trams are limited, but they're completely free, and if you're heading to those hotels, it's a no-brainer. But what if you want to save money on longer rides on the strip? That's where the Deuce bus comes in.
If you want to see the entire strip, plus get to downtown, you can do it easily and cheaply on the Deuce. Runs 24 hours a day, about every 15 minutes during the day into early evening, and then every 20 minutes or so overnight.
The Deuce is a public double-decker bus that runs north and southbound on the Strip. It's got multiple stops, which means it's fairly convenient to all of the hotels and casinos on the Strip, even if it doesn't stop directly in front of it. You could buy a singular $4 pass for one ride, which honestly I don't recommend. They also have 2-hour, 24-hour, and 3-day passes. And honestly, the 3-day pass is only $20, so it's really hard to beat as far as cost goes. Now, you are on Surface Street and there are multiple stops, which is kind of a blessing and a curse because that means that it takes a while to get down the Strip. But it's air conditioned. Every one I was on was clean and it gives you a view of the Strip. My recommendation is that if you're going to use the Deuce, download the Ride RTC app and purchase your pass through the app. Now, for a single ride, you can tap and go on the bus with your credit card or your debit card. But again, I think for most people, if you're going to take the Deuce, there are better options than just the single ride pass. If you want a 2-hour or 24-hour pass, you can buy those at the bus with cash and exact change, or you can buy them at the ticket machines, which are at most of the bus stops along the route. But again, I find that Ride RTC app the easiest, and then everything's on your phone and you can just tap the QR code when you're getting on the bus. Now, if you're looking for something more futuristic than a basic old public bus, try the Vegas Loop. These are also known as the Tesla tunnels because Elon Musk's The Boring Company created these tunnels, and Teslas will take you from one station to another. Now, the downside of this option is there are still limited places that you can take the Tesla tunnels to and from. However, it's a lot of fun. I absolutely recommend that if you can find an excuse to use it, do it. Usually it's about $4 to $5 per ride, but some of the places are still providing free rides. So for instance, I took it from the Fontainebleau Casino to Resort World, and that didn't cost me anything. And it's really perfect if you're there for a convention. There are several stations at the convention center right now, as well as other local hotels. So if you're staying there for a convention, then this is definitely one of the ways you want to get around and save some steps. And speaking of futuristic, this next one was my favorite during my Vegas vacation. Remember that fully autonomous vehicle I talked about? Well, this is it. It's the Zoox. No steering wheel and no driver. And Las Vegas is one of the few places you can take a Zoox right now. I was surprised at how many Zoox there were zooming around Las Vegas. Now, just like the Tesla tunnels, the downside of the Zoox is that there are limited places that you can take it to and from. But I absolutely recommend, if you can find a way to fit this into your itinerary, that you do it. It feels very Jetson-y. Everything's controlled by the app and a screen in the car.
To open the doors, use the Zoox app.
There's no front seat, no steering wheel. These vehicles were really designed from the ground up to be autonomous vehicles, unlike some places which sort of retrofitted a regular car. And the best part is they're free, at least for now. I'm sure at some point they're going to start charging for these, but while they're testing things out, it's free. And there are lots of people who are trying them. I had to wait 25 minutes for my Zoox, but it was worth it. I really wanted to just try it, and I would use it again for sure. But again, the limitation is where you can take it to and from. Again, just like the Vegas Loop, they're planning on doing some expanding. So by the time you get there, you may have more options than I did. And then there's the Downtown Loop. It runs 11 to 6 Sunday through Thursday and 3 to 10 on Friday and Saturday. And it is exactly what it sounds like, a loop around downtown Vegas. I'll be honest, I took the Downtown Loop for the first time on this last trip, and I probably won't use it again. It has the most limited hours. It runs every 20 to 30 minutes, so it doesn't come around as quickly as some of the other options. And the shuttle bus only had 10 or 12 seats on it, so I can envision that it could be full and then you could miss it. It is free though, so depending on what your itinerary is, it could be a good option for you. It's just not something that I'm probably going to use again. I would probably opt to just use the Deuce for most things. So with all these options, what's the smartest way to get around? In truth, there isn't one best way to get around Vegas, and I would use a combination of these transportation options. I think the Deuce is great if you have a little extra time and you want to stay on a tight budget. The monorail is definitely faster, although it's limited to the east side. But if you're there for a convention and you're staying far away from the convention center, then it can be a fantastic option. Of course, Uber and Lyft are always an option and sometimes the most convenient. And because the Trams, Monorail, Zoox, and Vegas Loop, and even the Deuce have limitations on where you can get on or get off, Uber and Lyft is probably going to be part of your package at some point to get you somewhere that those other options don't take you. Really, the goal is to balance your time, your budget, and your itinerary. If you found this guide helpful, we'd appreciate it if you liked it, shared it, hyped it, did all of those things to get the word out on this video and our channel. And of course, please subscribe and hit the bell button so that you get notified the next time we put a video out. In the meantime, thanks for watching. This is Kathy from Suitcase Packed Will Travel.